Hello, you all. Welcome to this new edition of Lectio Musica, the place for great lyrics, great music, and great meaning. My name is Guilain Prince. I'm a Franciscan friar from Canada, and I love rock music. And once a week, I stop by with you, and we listen to a great song together. Most of the time, it's a new song for me. We listen to the song, we look at the lyrics closely, we look how the song is constructed, and finally we try to understand the meaning of the song. This week I already reacted to quite an impressive song, and I will tell you exactly why this is a remarkable piece of music. It's called The Kingslayer from Nightwish. The song is taken from the album The Wishmaster. If you didn't watch my reaction to the studio and 2 live versions, go on the internet and look for reaction to The Kingslayer. Now, this video is the analysis of the song, and we will begin right away. We are on a journey through the repertoire of Nightwish, the Finnish metal symphonic metal band. This band is quite remarkable in many ways. We've been through the whole new album, Human Nature, and this is the 8th reaction and analysis from the very beginning, the first demo of Nightwish. We reacted to the studio version of 2000, live called End of an Era, 2005, I learned, and Buenos Aires, 2015. So we saw the song being sung by the two main interprets, Tarja and Floor, and it was very convincing in both cases. Now, it's the second song of the album Wishmaster, which is the 3rd album. The lyricist and composer. Now, some of the sites are not accurate, and I'm pretty sure it is Tuomas Holopainen, but some of the lyric sites, even the one suggested by Nightwish itself, there's no consistency. So sometimes the whole band is credited for some part or in the participation of the writing and or the composing, but on other sites, and especially I appreciate very much Tidal. Usually they are quite precise. They say it's only Tuomas who is the lyricist and composer, and I would tend to think that it is. But if you have other information, please let us know down below. It is written in the lyrics at the end. It is about the Columbine High School shooting that happened in April 1999. 2 young men entered the high school and shot 12 children and 1 teacher, and after that they committed suicide. Now you have to know that they had placed other vehicles and bombs somewhere else. It could have been much, much worse. For some reason, the other equipment didn't work properly. And, let's dig in a song. It's a heavy subject, but the song is quite straightforward. They don't lose time. They begin right away with a very long and powerful intro, not very long, a long and powerful intro, suggesting really the way that the strings, the keyboards are played. It suggests tragedy. It's a tragedy. There's also in the beat and the rhythm section determination. One key change, what something quite unusual in a song at the beginning of a song. before there are even words spoken or sung. So the intro is meaningful by itself. The key change might here suggest that we are getting closer to the event. The first paragraph. For whom the gun tolls, for whom the prey weeps. Bow before war, call it religion. Gun toll, well, it's a poetic way of saying that the shooting is like a signal, like a bell that you will ring to say, to tell the population that there is a fire. Now, the gun toll physically doesn't toll, but the sounding of the guns, for whom? For whom the prey weeps. The prey here is not an animal. The prey are little boys and girls. 9 little boys and 3 little girls, if I remember well. The little preys, they weep. For whom? For themselves, for the murderers, for their family, for their friends. Bow before a war, call it religion. This is extremely important. For me, it gives a key to the whole song. Bow before a war. There's a war happening. But normally a war, you have 2 opponents. Here you have one side with guns. What does the other side have? Call it religion. Here is very interesting. This war, call it religion, not because it's a war about religion. No, I don't think it's the meaning of this. It is religion because somebody plays God. We will come back on this idea. Somebody decides who lives or dies. And he will request from the other persons a religious-like attitude, in this case of sacrificing their own life. Basically, it is someone playing God asking for human sacrifice. Some wounds never heal, some tears never will dry for the unkind, cry for mankind. This is quite remarkable. Some wounds never heal. We understand that when we are hurt deeply, we really do feel it will never heal. Of course, it's not always true, but we might think it will never heal. I would read the second and third line together. Some tears never will dry for the unkind. The presence of unkind, of human monsters, will make us and humanity cry, and as if one after the other, there's a new monster coming in. I don't know if you heard in your country about what happened in Quebec City lately. Somebody dressed with a Japanese saber just went in the street and killed people in a city which has nothing violent usually. 1 year ago, a person went in a mosque and shot at people, believers, Muslim believers. It's in a city like Quebec City. It's mind blowing. Like, will we get some rest about these things happening worldwide? Because of the unkind, will our eyes become dry one day? Cry for mankind. And I have to suggest here absolutely that the crying about mankind is not only about the victims, because in the mankind we will see that the murderers are there. I think this song is remarkable. Even the dead cry. Their only comfort. Kill your friend, I don't care. Orchid Days, blinded stare. A series of sentences, one after the other, that's not only connected to each other. It's like a flow of ideas, no, of feelings. When we are facing such a tragedy, all kinds of things are happening in our minds. Even the dead cry, their only comfort. I don't know what is your understanding of afterlife. Maybe you could say that the dead, they still have tears falling from their face. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the dead people among the dead still having a certain understanding or conscience of what is happening. They are crying for those living this. But the only comfort the dead have is that they are dead. Kill your friend, I don't care. As if the murderers, they were killing people, their own friend. Yeah, well, it seems that these two murderers were bullied, they were mistreated, and they kill. There's a revenge in their murder. Orchid kids. I remember hearing something about enfant orchidée in French. So it gave me the idea of looking for these two words together. And in fact, I came into a study by a psychologist about orchid kids. Orchid kids are the kids extremely sensitive to events happening around them. Imagine orchid kids in this situation. They are like deers. You know what happened to deers when you arrive with your car? You are right towards them and they look at you because immobility is their survival strategy normally. But now the car is facing them, is about to break them into pieces, but they still think that by not moving, they will avoid danger. There it is, blinded stare. The fact that the very sensitive kid is like, cannot move. And maybe he has a strategy thinking that by not moving, I will be spared. There's a need, and you see, it's all a series of I say one-liner, but not here for comedy purposes, but for things that are crossing our minds when we hear about such a terrible event. Need to understand, no need to forgive. Well, here, of course, it's not the affirmation that forgiveness is not important. It's just that not that soon. It's too fast. Everything is happening too fast. Everything doesn't make sense. Don't try to make sense. Don't try to cover it up. Don't try to do things too fast. No truth. In that kind of event, there's no truth. This is something I really agree in a way. No sense. There's no sense. There's no truth. Some people will try to use it to say, oh, this is a punishment from God or punishment from this and that, and they will try to make sense where sometimes there is no sense. There is no truth. There is no sense left to be followed. There's no truth. It kind of breaks into pieces. Everything you might hold sometimes very dear. Sometimes you don't know, people who are not familiar with scriptures, holy scriptures, they talk about these moments of exile, for example, complete destruction, where you lose every single certitude you have in your life. It's in the scriptures, the complete silence, the complete despair that the people might face sometimes in their life. This is that kind of moment we just read about. Now there's a bridge. A bridge is a musical portion of the song that brings us from one type sometimes to another, or sometimes two important section of the song. Here it is, for me, the bridge is the most difficult part of the song because I have a very strong imagination. I feel it's a hunt. It's a hunt. It begins a little bit like the intro, as if it's the two murderers progressing towards their prey, but then the guitar riff arrives on the change on the backbeat, and you hear the strings coming on all this. For me, it's the children, the innocence in this violent environment, and for me, the beats of the rhythm section are the shots. My imagination maybe is too strong. Tell me down there, but for me, this is harder than the words we just heard. Now we enter in this section I call the dialogue, and you will see there's more than a dialogue. The murderers and a woman, played by Tarja, probably is reacting as all humanity reacts, asking questions, trying to understand, trying to dialogue if it's possible with the murderers. But you will see that the murderers, they are not in a position of dialogue. Even if they answer, they are trying to, we say usurpation, usurper. They try to take the place of religious feeling and to break not only the bodies but the minds of those about to die. It's extremely powerful. The woman says, facing this unbearable fear like meeting an old friend, as if fear is the old friend of humanity. And it might suggest something that we already read. It's a pattern. It's a pattern. Fear, that kind of fear, is not does not happen only once in humanity, in the human's history. It's like meeting an old friend. Another moment of great fear, something we know too much about, and this is something. I have to tell you, dear European friend, this is something that, apart from the member of the military in Canada, we haven't been in war for ages. I mean, centuries. We don't know anymore what is the cost of war. And I think that you probably understand a little bit better than I do this line here. I find this line remarkable. It arrives like you have no idea what is about to arrive here by the woman. But fear, this unbearable fear, is how come we are familiar with that. The murderers, like I said in the reaction, as if the murderers are speaking in one voice. So the murderers here are saying, time to die, poor mates. You notice poor mates? They are his friends. He knows them. Time to die, poor mates. You made me what I am. I am your creation. By the mistreatment I receive, by everything. Yeah, it has been studied, analyzed, that they were not the most popular kids on the block, In this world of a million religions, everyone prays the same way. Now it seems to come in a very surprising way, but not that much. Don't you see that there's a war, call it religion. The war as a religion. The war as a religion. With its God, serving God. Mars was the god in the Roman Empire of war, of the military. Everyone prays the same way in every religion, but in the religion of war. The prayer then is completely different. Your praying is in vain. All these prayers of millions of religions, they are in vain. All these prayers are in vain. But soon it will be over. He plays God. Father, help me. Of course, this is the prayer of a child. To the Heavenly Father, I guess, very probably. So the song is in a Christian environment. Save me a place by your side is literally an excerpt from the Gospel of John, where Jesus says that I'm going up in heaven to prepare a place for you. This is it. This is the same thing, the promised place we will have in heaven. And again, there is no God. So the murderer is not only aiming at inducing fear, is breaking the mind of the people. And extreme violence, extreme wars, by breaking every certitude, every truth that people hold very dear, they break people in concentration camp, people in situation where there's mass murdering. You lose every certitude, every belief. For a while you will be lost. And I have to say that I understand, and I have to say that I think it's almost impossible to avoid, even for the believers. There is no God. Our creed is but for ourselves. Now, it is clear that this guy is breaking faith of the other, that this guy is saying, this is in vain. But you have to be careful with the second. Our creed is but for ourselves. Is it the creed of the murderers only? Or the creed for humanity, the creed of humanity? We build a world only for ourselves. And the real God we serve is only our own interest. Is it this the understanding? And I will tend to think that Thomas puts that so that we think it's the murderers. But in second thought we say, well, is it the creed only of the murderers? You're not a hero unless you die. Our species eat the wounded one. Now, by dying themselves, by committing suicide at the end, do they become heroes, black heroes? I think that it's not false to talk like this. The one who doesn't die but was very brave sometimes is completely forgotten. The dead one also, sometimes we forget them. But one thing is said here: our species eat the wounded ones. We could say the weak one. The woman here, Tarja, sings with a lot of passion. She interrupts. Drunk with the blood of your victim, I do feel your pity-wanting pain. Loss for fame, a deadly game. There's, I would say here, humanity is showing some kind of, both understanding but rejection of that kind of discourse, drunk with your blood of your victim. The person is like in a second state, as if he had drank alcohol. It's a second state. There's some kind of anyways, is the person does not feel guilt. There is this situation when the person is as if she was drunk or addicted or under the influence of drugs, and this is accelerating by the shooting I just did. But I do feel your pity-wanting pain. You told me that I created you. I feel that. I understand what you're telling. But my Lord, you cannot have this as an excuse for what you're doing. Your lust for fame, for glory, not wanting to make a difference in history. Yeah, recognition. We know we know how important it is for mass murderers. A deadly game. Run away with your impeccable kin, as if he is not anymore of that kind, the impeccable one. And to me, impeccable one is the portion of humanity that is innocent. But I find this sentence extremely hard if it's aiming at the children themselves, which would be probably impeccable kin. But it could be also a reaction to what has just been said, that the well-thinking humanity is an impeccable, thinking that they are out of guilt or culpability, and run away with your impeccable kin. I see the people running in front of the arm, Good wombs hath borne bad sons. Now, I don't know how to understand this sudden song, this sudden sentence in Old English. I suspect it is a quotation of a classical. I'm used with dramas to think that sometimes he quotes classical theater, and I would think that this is a kind of a sentence that we can give, a slogan that we get, coming from classical theater, that we can give to a situation like this. Oh, good wombs hath borne bad sons. It removes the guilt from the mothers. And here lately we have been very much preoccupied with the families of mass murderers. And one of them, in fact, the mother of somebody who killed women in an engineering school we had in the 80s, in 89, Marc Lépine, his mother gives testimonies that are incredible. After 30 years, she's still out there, and she really inspire a lot of people. the mother of Marc Lépine in Montreal, Polytechnique, engineering school, directed against women in man's field, what he felt it was man's areas of knowledge and Now there is the choir. We don't hear, if we hear Taria here, she's among the members of the choir. Here it's the first time I hear the choir being a character in a song of Nightwish, something that we find extensively in Epica repertoire. Cursing God, why? Falling for every lie, survivor's guilt in us forever. In us forever might be only related to survivor's guilt, but it could be also about cursing God while as being a reaction that we have that stays. We make God responsible for things that humans do, and I know that this has been done a lot through the centuries. But to curse God for something that humanity does, falling for every lie, I wonder if it's not a kind of it is a kind of a summary of all these easy said words, lines, sentences that we give ourselves in times of crisis to comfort, of course, but sometimes they kind of cover up the real questions. I think it talks about the fragility from humanity here, falling for every lie. Survivor's guilt is us for this we understand already. The last section, 15 candles. Redeemers of this world. This is a way we said, it's a way of saying things about these little victims, redeemers of the world. You know what it means, redeemers? They die so that the other can live. And to me, here is the closest and more precise expression that illustrates the war being called religion. By that I mean they gave a religious understanding or meaning of these nonsense death. They died, and by their death we live. And I'm not sure that Thomas likes this line. I think it is exactly what he doesn't like. And look at the line right after, dwell in hypocrisy. I think, how were we supposed to know? If our creed is for ourselves only, will create monsters. So things like that will happen as a result. It is the only place I have the impression that Thomas is really outraged by the event, but maybe also by the words being said about the event, and that he's trying to make sense of it all. And I'm not sure he's very comforted by those words, nor the reading that people do of this event. It ends with what sounds like a gunshot, turning into a thunder roll or a lot of echo. And I think that might be the shot the suicidal shots of the murderers. Uh, it could be another shot as well. These shots still resounding so loud that those shots that will create constant fear, an old friend of humanity. Now the music. The music clearly, from me, I don't know if you agree with that, but clearly suggests tragedy by especially the keyboards playing orchestral strings, and determination, which is mainly done by the rhythm section. The structure is quite simple. There's a long opening. When I say long, it's not a very long one, but compared to other songs, it's longer. The block 1 of lyrics, there's a bridge leading to the dialogue, but the dialogue is not only between two characters. Then there will be this second woman 2, saying that the good wombs, they bore bad sons. And in terms of music, this is really a signature beat of Yuka. I've said it many times. There are few surprises, but not that many. The fact that there's a modulation, a change of key in the opening, in the introduction, but basically the rhythm change in the instrumental, but it's not a complicated song in terms of structure, but it's well composed, by the way. In terms of lyrics now, we have a succession of slogans, one-liners, questions, quotes from different sources. The murderers and other quotes are unspecified, maybe even classical theater. In my evaluation of human nature, I said, I think Thomas is a genius at one very precise point. I think he is the king, from what I know right now, he's the king of prosody. Prosody is the art of combining music and prose, lyrics and music. This exceptional blend in which I think Thomas is the very best I know personally. I say, in this song, to me, this exceptional ability that Thomas has can be seen in the making. He is making his science, his knowledge, growing at a very fast pace. I told you that Sleeping Sun induce in our heart exactly what the song talks about. This is being king of prosody. This song is the second best example, maybe the first example, best example of that until now. The exceptional connection between the words and the music. The music says exactly what the words are saying, and you feel the words even if you haven't heard them yet. Exceptional. This is why I think it's a very, very remarkable song. So, in terms of meaning now, there's an evocation of the external event, okay? But Nightwish, or Thomas, wants to give us access to the hearts of the victims, of the murderer, and of the public. He's trying to understand, to make sense of all sides in that song, and I'm not sure that one side has, I would say, the full sympathy of the composer writer. I think that he is critical of all sides in this. This is just my opinion here. Some men play God. They decide who lives, who dies. And there is then usurpation of religious feeling and thoughts. Bow down in front of this wall. okay, and ask, and I will ask of you to be human sacrifice, redeemers, dying for the rest of us. So there is a religious feeling to it, but it's not religious at all. It's not religious at all. There is a religious reaction from the prey, from the victim, being confronted to death, imminent death. But in this case, the religious vocabulary is used to express something very human. So there is absolutely, from my point of view, there is no discourse on religion in that, but more a very arch human situation expressed in religious language. That's how I would read it. I don't know if you agree with that. Just let me know down here what you think. The woman too says bad children in good wombs. I think that this is a reaction we have, not to feel. I think more and more of the parents of mass murderers, how their life are broken. They will never come out of this. Never. I don't know how Madame Lépine came out of it. But this is trying to remove guilt, and I think it's a pretty healthy reaction to say, you are not the only one in the life of that person. For what reason the person lost his mind is out of our understanding. For me, maybe somebody understands, but I don't. The choir represents the world that tries to understand phenomenons like this. But Thomas has another point of view. Humanity creates its monster. This is, I think, the basic affirmation of this song. The monsters that we don't want amongst us, they are the results of our daily behavior. Of course, the title Kinslayer is a play on word. You all know from fantasy literature, from classical thing, the Kingslayers, and I thought it was the title at first, the one who kills kings. But it is not the Kingslayer, it is the Kinslayer, the one that slays his own kind, his own family, his own kin. The murderers, of course. But I think that the Kingslayer is not the murderers only. I think that this song makes a point that ultimately humanity creates the monster. Next song will be Dead Boy's Poem from the same album, Wishmaster 2000. The reaction will be in French on next Wednesday. I know it's a long-awaited song. I'm certain we will enjoy it together. I will react to, as usual, a studio version and live versions of the song. We still have the premiere. This week we broke every record about the chat. We were 175 altogether listening to my reaction video at 7:30 in Western Europe and 1:30 in Eastern North America and South Americas. Wednesday then is the reaction, and a few days after, an analysis like this one. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave your comments, click the little bell if you want to be notified as soon as a new video comes out. And for me, that's all for this week, these guys, dear guys, boys and girls, I should say. That's it for this week. See you next Wednesday. Bye bye.